But if I could do it twice, my clothes are still the only things I would change. What is up, my guy, Tony James?
What's up, Tomas? Chilling, dude.
Man, this is an honor for me because I love doing podcasts, but what I really, really love is when I get to connect with like my oldest friends and like talk about where they are in their life, and then also dabble in a little bit of like the craziness that we experienced when we were younger, like hit the deck.
Hit the deck. That's exclusive. But honestly, yeah, like growing up with you and having that childhood memory is something that I hold dear, right?
Yeah.
Like no matter where we are in life, somehow our paths cross, and that means a lot to me. And just to see what you've done with, the community and advocating for youth and giving them a voice has really motivated me, has really inspired me. And it's like, dude, that's my friend. I know this dude.
Yeah.
And so when you called, it was like, dude, it's an honor. I would absolutely love to, like, please.
Yeah,
So
no.
thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So Tony and I, we grew up together at the Great Old Boys and Girls Clubs. But so you're a little bit younger than me. I just turned 44. How old are you?
I just turned 43, so I'm 1 year behind.
1 year behind. So we're in our 40s.
Sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's different.
Right? Because also, if you do some pretty simple math, like we're at the beginning of the end. You know what I mean? Like this is the midpoint. We're middle-aged men.
There's so many days that I stop and I think about that, and I look at my son who's 16, and I'm just like, wait, where did the time go?
Yeah.
What happened? I have gray hair.
Yeah.
So it trips me out every day, and even being in like fashion industry, right? Like I'm surrounded by so many young people, and then they're like, "Hey, you gonna go to the after party?" And I'm like, "Dude, no, I'm gonna go home and see my kids and wife." And and they're like, "Wait, how old are you?" And I'm like, "I'm 42 after 43," and they're like, "No way,
Yeah.
no way,
That's crazy.
You're old."
Yeah. I mean, but you know what, dude? I love it. I am old.
Sure.
And I am lucky to be old because, we did some wild things when we were younger. Nothing too crazy, but, like life is not promised. And so anyways, let's get right into it. Fashion industry, because this is what I really, really wanted to talk to you about, because I have a little clothing brand, right? Lifestyle brand is really what it is, right? Just kind of, which I'm going to ask you a little bit later of like the name, I want to get your take on the name, but I remember probably 5 to 6 years ago, I reached out to you because I knew that you were in the like clothing business, and I was just like, yo, I want to do this thing. How do you do it? And you were like telling me that like the only way to do it back then was like get some screens and, all that kind of stuff, which to me, I was like, that's too much work. And I just didn't do it. I was like, nah, I don't know. It was like you were talking computer programming. But so you've been in the fashion industry for how long?
Wow. I would say consistently now for about 5 years. It's obviously been longer that I've been learning the game and the process of getting there, but like officially for about 5 years now.
But you've been in it longer than that.
No,
When did you make your first shirt?
When I made my first shirt was probably about 8 years ago.
Okay.
But see, and I don't look at that as like me having a brand or me running a company or a business as much as it was me learning the craft of a hobby or an art, right?
Yeah.
Even though I sell a shirt to someone doesn't make me a t-shirt company or doesn't make me a brand. It's once I start building that community and people buy into that, that's when I'm like, okay, I have a brand that people buy into. Now I'm a clothing company.
Okay. That makes sense. That's fair.
But I've been doing clothing for as long as I know. I've been into fashion since like a little one in the thrift stores and learning fabrics and figuring things out. How do I dress like a doughboy without the money?
Yeah.
And just figuring it out.
Yeah.
So that's where it started, honestly.
Okay. And your brand is Throne of Grace.
Throne of Grace Clothing, where we are creating unapologetic streetwear for faith-driven visionaries.
Okay. And how did that come about with you?
Yeah, no, that's great question, because for me, I went to school for fashion.
Okay.
That was my big thing. I'm going to be this famous designer. I did fashion in high school. I got tired of dressing out of the PE locker room with a bunch of dudes. Teacher told me they had a fashion merchandising class and it was like 98% girls.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no brainer.
Yeah, no brain. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Little Playboy Tony.
Right. And exactly. It was like, that's what happened. So I went in there to try to be cute with all the females. But what I ended up noticing is that the teacher took a liking to me. She would point me out or admire me for the things that I would wear and how I'd put things together. And even so much using me as an example most days, to the point where she pulled me aside and said, hey, dude, I think you need to try this like further in college. I'll write you a reference to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. I'll support you, whatever you need. And so when she was starting to speak life into me, that's when I was like, okay, I have something here.
Yeah.
So I kept pursuing it. But for one reason or another, Tomas, that during this process of me trying to be this famous designer, nothing ever worked. No doors opened up. Anytime I took one step forward, I took 8 steps back, and I couldn't understand why. In hindsight now, I do understand because it was about me. It was about me wanting to be glorified. It was about me putting my name out there. And I don't think that was rooted in the purpose I have in this life. So I stopped doing fashion. I just gave up on it, became a hairstylist for some years. And when I finally was looking for my faith, I found God. And that's when I built this relationship with Jesus. And then in that moment of me surrendering to him, within days, he reignited that. He said, remember that fashion thing? That was about me through you. Get it cracking again, basically.
Yeah.
So I said, sure, I'll do it. You just open the doors, you make it happen, I'll be obedient.
Okay.
And that's what happened. And so as soon as I started making fashion and creating garments that glorified him instead of me, doors were opening up. People were coming around. Money was dropping. Opportunities were presenting themselves. And so it was like, yeah, this was my purpose.
Nice.
So it didn't happen before because it was about me. But now that it's about something greater than myself, God's definitely made a way.
That's cool, man. That's good. I love that story because I feel like I'm in that place where, so I've been doing it for 2 years, right? And it's funny, man. It's definitely I would say if you just look at my social media page and like I am creating a lot of stuff, right? And a lot of people are like, "Dang, man, like you're really doing it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm really doing losing money." Is what I'm really doing. I'm really losing a lot of dough because, people don't, it's not getting where it needs to be. Sure. And I am at that place where I'm just like, man, what am I really doing? And it's interesting that you said you're doing it for God, right? To glorify God. For me, it's interesting where it's just like, well, at a minimum, at least I'm making some stuff for me to wear. Sure. You know what I mean? I'm like, if no one else is buying it, at least I'm buying it. And that means a lot to me. Yeah. But yeah, it is hard, right? So tell me about the ups and the downs of this industry, and how do you deal with like the frustration of not getting to the next level?
Yeah, I think you hit it right there. I think it's like, hey, I'm making this product and I'm being super creative and I'm putting my heart out here and I'm throwing this stuff together. I love it, but why aren't they gravitating towards it?
Yeah.
Why aren't people buying it? I mean, in the beginning, you do have that. And I think for me, it was understanding that you really need to build your community. And I say that over and over is because there's so many different options. Why should somebody wear your stuff?
Yeah.
And until you start building that community, and how you do that is by telling your story and allowing people to gravitate to say, hey, I love that. I support that, or I can identify with that. So now I want to be a part of it. I think once you build that community and you have that type of support, then you'll start seeing, okay, people want it just because they can identify with it.
Yeah.
Other than it just being another, random shirt.
Yeah.
Because I can get a million of those.
That's a good point, right? It's not about the actual clothing. It is about what the clothing represents and the community and the brand. And it's like, once you build, people support brands. They don't necessarily support like the designs. Right. Yeah.
1,000%. And you can look at that throughout the industry. If you look at Rick Owens or Louis Vuitton or anything, some of the stuff is just outlandish. Yeah. But they've bought into that story. They've bought into that community of what that was presented. And so that's why they gravitate towards it. It's like, dude, that's borderline goofy looking.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Oh, bro, a lot of that fashion, like some of what are those big boots that people were wearing? The big space boots?
The big red boots.
The big red boots. Whoa.
And so that stuff like that's crazy, but I also love that, right? I think fashion is to be fun. fun. It's not to be taken seriously. And again, it's like boils down to we have this one life to live. Like clothing should be like an outward expression of an inward heart. Some days I feel sad, so I might come out and look a little emo-ish and all black and dark. And today I got cowboy boots on. I rode my motorcycle here, and it was nothing but Luke Combs on the way here. Because I'm feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's you should have fun with it, and people are gonna say something regardless.
Yeah.
So just do whatever your heart says in the moment, and just yeah. So I appreciate those boots, but then again, me personally, I wouldn't rock the stuff.
Yeah. You know what? Ditto.
Yeah.
Right. Completely irrelevant. I'm not even. The fact that you drive a motorcycle is crazy to me. Just I'm gonna put a period on that.
Let me tell you, you watch Purple Rain as a child. Hey.
Is that what it is?
Hey, you watch Prince as a child, dude?
Yeah. Okay.
I love the cowboy with heels. I love motorcycles. You know what I mean? I just, as a child, I wanted to be Prince, and I knew that one day I was going to ride a bike and drop my wife off at, what is it, Lake Munkatonka and tell her to swim.
That's crazy. So most recently, you were elevated to what I think is like a pretty major milestone in fashion. Like you were a part of a fashion week.
Sure.
How did that come about?
You know what? Like Phoenix Fashion Week is kind of been a pillar within not only Arizona, but it's the biggest fashion show in the Southwest region.
Oh, really?
It is.
Okay.
So it was something my wife and I did for years. Like we would go to Fashion Week as just our date night. That was no matter what happened, we were there just to do something with each other, but also just to check out the latest fashions, right? We love it, both of us. But I used to sit there and I'm like, why aren't I up there? Yeah. Every year I would have this dilemma and this torture, like, Tone, you're just as good as them. But I was also getting in my own way. I was like, oh, well, I'm not that good. But so we would go. And so I told my wife one day, I was like, either they're going to let me in the front door of this or I'm coming in the back door. And what I meant is like, they're going to like notice me and invite me in, or they're going to have no room to say, hey, we have to get this guy in here because he's doing big things.
Yeah.
So either way, I was going to end up there. And it just kind of organically happened. Brian Hill, who's the executive director of Phoenix Fashion Week, I think I just like, matter of fact, they were having a community night, which was like community designers from Arizona can participate in Phoenix Fashion Week. You only show like 2 or 3 looks on the first night. And it was midnight. It was almost midnight of the last day to sign up. And I had been fasting and like, every year I'm like, do it, but I never did. This time I was fasting, so I felt like I had a little bit more clarity. I think it was 11 p.m. Told my wife I'm gonna do it. Just signed on, logged in. Got a call within a couple days.
Wow.
Hey, dude, why don't you do community night? And from doing community night rolled into me doing designer boot camp, which is a digital thing where you learn to build your brand. You learn to understand who you are as a designer, just so many different things. But I end up joining that, winning that, and then being invited into Phoenix Fashion Week's 10 looks on the runway for the main night. Nice. And that's where I was competing. So within a year span, like I said before, doors weren't opening up. But this time they were. And it was part of me believing in myself, getting out of my own way, but also having faith in God that it's all in his control because this is his brand. Yeah. I'm just a vessel.
Okay.
So.
Nice, man. That's really cool, man. I'm really proud of you. I am, man.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I'm proud of you, man, because I think, going back to kind of where it all started, at least in our friendship, right? We were little troublemakers, right, at a community center. And some of us didn't make it.
Sure, yeah.
People we know that are really close to us didn't make it, or they got into some significant troubles. And but I always felt like, Tony, check this out, right? When people ask me, how do you manage yourself in a boardroom full of people, right, in this professional setting? Like, how do you not get nervous? How do you have the confidence? Yeah. Right. And I always tell them, I'm like, man, you don't even know. Like, I've seen some wild stuff in my life. Right. And so when I'm sitting at a boardroom, it's kind of like, that doesn't intimidate me. Sure. Yeah. It's just crazy. And so I felt like if you can come from the environment that we came from and figure out and be blessed enough to get to a point where you are able to live in your purpose, right? Mm-hmm. There's really nothing that can stop you. because you got all the juice, you know,
Right. Right.
owed to the movie. You got the juice now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's good because even like during Phoenix Fashion Week, we had to do different press runs and stuff like that, and you would see some of these other designers, some even a little bit more further in their career than I was, but they would be terrified to do these press runs.
Yeah.
They would be terrified to go in these rooms and do these pitches and stuff like that. Where I was like you said, dude, I've been through the harsh of harsh. This is the easy part of it, right? Just going up there and telling my story. Right, I'm not worrying about having to like get stabbed on my way home.
Yeah.
You know, I know afterwards I'm gonna get in my car, I'm gonna go home, go to my family. And so there was that difference between myself and other designers again because of what stemmed from the past that I was able to pull from for the future.
So you are also a family man,
Yeah.
right? I'm in that boat. I got a wife. I got kids.
Wait, how many kids do you have, dude? I'm thinking like 3.
I do. I have my wife, who is also from our neighborhood, she had 2 kids when she was 16 and 18. Okay. And ironically, I was working at the Boys and Girls Club, Gable, right? The one that we grew up at.
Who fired me? Fired me. Let's put that out there.
They
though.
fired you?
Dude. Okay. I could go there if you want me to, but the Boys and Girls Club, dude, is not on my good side right now.
Okay, well, they're on my great side. So we're not gonna, but we're gonna bring you back. We're gonna bring you back into the grace of the Boys and Girls Club, because I can guarantee you. But when you got fired, whoever was a part of that administration, they're gone, long gone. Like
Sure.
this, you know what I mean? Like
No, and I would say this. It was just a mishap, right? Like the Boys and Girls Club presented me so many opportunities. It taught me
Yeah.
so many things. My kids look at me like I'm in Spider-Man because I can do friendship bracelets. I can shoot a 3-pointer. There's so many things in my resume that the Boys and Girls Club provided for me
yeah,
that I can never take away. So
Yeah.
I don't think the Boys and Girls Club's bad or anything.
Yeah.
I just had a couple bad apples, but nonetheless, like they help mold who I am today. Even the creative aspect that presents.
oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. And to be fair, like I never got fired from the Boys and Girls Club, but my brother did, and you know. That's a whole funny story, man. Like he left. They were doing a random drug test, and he came in, and he was high as a kite. He's gonna be mad at this, but whatever. It's my podcast.
Just don't smoke, dude.
No, so he was high as a kite. He came in, and they were like, you've been pulled for a random drug test,
Got him.
and he's just like, nah. And they're like, his manager he literally was like, no. They're like, no, you have to do this, and he's like, I'm not going to do it. And the manager literally didn't know what to do. They had to like call. They were like, all right, well, we're going to call admin to fix, because he was literally like, no, I'm not going to do it. And when they went to call admin, he just left.
He did.
He said, I'm out. He's like, I'm fired either way. Like, I'm either fired or I quit. He's like,
let me just save you guys like $57.
let me save you $57.
Let me just walk out now.
But that's also what happens when you hire a club kid to work at the club before they're ready. You know what I mean? Because that's
true.
you know, that's a whole nother situation. Because it's like, bro, we're not ready to work here. We're still club kids.
And I think that's where I was at probably in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
I was still a club kid, but I was a very much so an advocate for youth, and to this day I still am. But again, I was still cleaning myself up.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell somebody not to do something when I was still doing it
Oh,
myself.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it all makes sense, but
Yeah. So my wife, right? I'm working at the club, and my wife comes in to sign up her daughter at the time, Alexis, who was 7, to play basketball. And I looked at Alexis. She's 7, right? And I was like, oh, she can hoop. There was just something, I could see it in her eyes. And I was like, I want her on my team, right? And I was coaching, and I got her on my team, and that's how I met my wife, right?
she can hoop.
She could hoop.
No, you look right at the wife like, I want her.
No,
You're not
no.
slick, dude. Yeah, you probably seen a little something in her, but you've seen a lot more in mom, though.
Maybe, but yeah. And then, you know, we even at the time we were dating, and I really I fell in love with Debbie, my wife, but I didn't know if I was ready to be a father. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, I don't know, man. And to be a father to 2 kids that weren't like my biological, I was like, man, I don't know if I could do that, you know? And I walked away, but the love between her and I was too strong, and I came back and I was like, well, I'm here now. We got to go forward, and then within a year and a half, she had become pregnant with my third child, which is the Santiago the Saint, who is now he's going to be 8 years old pretty soon. So I got a 19-year-old daughter who can hoop, and she is playing college basketball.
The 19 was a 7-year-old.
She was 7. Now she's 19.
Okay.
Then I got Bubba. He's 16. And then Santiago is my third child. So
okay, so
yeah, I got a whole family.
You do, and that's dope.
Yeah, I hate them.
They're a lot. They are a lot. Like people don't understand that. Like it's a lot. And so for me, I'm very much a social butterfly.
Okay.
But when I get home in my space, I'm very like introverted. I'm very like, you know what I mean?
You're an Aquarius.
I am.
Yeah, I feel you. Me too.
Very, very silent. You know what I mean? So family's a lot, but let's not ignore the fact that you dipped out on her, dude. Like
I did.
Did it make it harder to come back? Did you see any resentment towards the kids? Like, oh, here goes Mr. Runaway.
No, because when I left, I was really adamant about not being in the kid's life. Alexis knew me as her basketball coach, but she didn't know I was dating her mom.
Oh, okay. So they didn't know about
they didn't know.
side.
They didn't know about the romantic side, right? And Bubba was only like 5 or 6, so he was still young. And on the weekends, they would go with their dad.
Okay.
And so they didn't really know that their mom and I were dating. So, I remember when I asked Alexis if I could ask her mom to marry me, right? I think Alexis at this point was like maybe 9 going on 10.
Yeah.
And it was still a little weird to her because she was like, what? I mean, yeah.
Okay. See, I thought you were like carrying them on your shoulders at the zoo.
No.
Sharing funnel cakes. And then you just disappeared. Like, wait, dude, what happened?
Now, Debbie, I disappeared on Debbie. She definitely did not appreciate that. But, like I was trying to do the right thing.
But was it a conversation or you just
Oh, yeah.
ghosted?
No. I didn't just ghost her. I just was like, no, I was like, I don't know that I can be a father.
Sure.
Because even before Santiago was born, I didn't grow up with my dad. Right. And so, like, to me, having kids was something that I took very seriously. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it was seriously like, I seriously do not want them because I don't even know how to be a dad because I didn't have a dad. Right. Sure. And so, so I was honest with her about it. It didn't, that doesn't make it any better, but to me, to the point of God, right? I think, God, it's interesting now when I look at my wife and my kids and my family, and I'm just like, dude, God knew something that I clearly didn't. Sure. And, and now we're deep in it. We're
out here shooting 3-pointers.
We're out here shooting 3-pointers in the backyard, man. So you have 2 kids.
I have 2 kids. My son Gio, Giovanni, he's 16.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Amazing kid, right? And to support what you said, like I grew up with a single father with the 4 of us. He wasn't my biological dad, but he was willing to say, "Hey, I'm not going to leave that. He's a half sibling of my children.
Yeah,
I'm not going to leave him out to go to the system." So he took me in.
Yeah.
So I didn't, and throughout my entire life, I never seen my dad with a woman.
Really?
He never dated. He never brought a girl home. I never seen him flirt with a girl. I never seen him kiss a girl, hold a hand, nothing. Until I was about 18, he started dating the lady at his job, but still, he never brought that around me. So when I met my wife and things transpired to the point where we ended up getting married after 4 months of knowing each other.
Yeah.
I was still having to learn everything from scratch. And even now we're almost on 16 years?
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still not getting it right. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to operate out of grace. Because again, I think that's the natural progression of it because it's new to everyone, no matter how much experience you have. But when you have 0 experience or like a matrix to go off of, it makes it almost feel like a child out of a womb.
Yeah. So, marriage is every day is a new day when I think about marriage, right? Because like you can have a great day on Tuesday.
Sure.
And then on Wednesday, it's like it's not great. and
It's like
you
you're
know,
still here.
you're
What are you doing?
or you can get into a disagreement. You know, you're human, right? Like being married is really hard, right? I think it is, which is a testament to people who stay married
Yeah.
because it's like you genuinely have to choose to stay married.
You do, right?
You know?
And that's where I get confused with the world of like, I need to find my human. Like, you're not going to find your human. You're going to work with the human and you're going to build that.
Yeah.
You're not going to find this person that just fits that Lego piece perfectly because there's so many things that you have to learn about yourself and to learn about them. But the compromises, the communication, there's so much to it. So I think the world is so skewed in the ideal of that, oh, I'm going to find this perfect person. And it's like, hey, I live with the perfect person, but some days she's not perfect. And some days I'm like, dude, why are you here?
Yeah.
And she's thinking the same thing about me.
Yeah.
So it's just figuring it out. But I love it. I love being married. My wife, Stephanie's an incredible woman. She holds it down. She's definitely a better human than I am because at the root of it, I'm still jacked up in the head, you know?
Yeah.
But I have kids that are incredible, right? I mentioned earlier, Gio, he's 16. This dude plays basketball. This dude's sophomore class president. He's just out here. He's just, you know, seeing him operate in his element at school is like, dude, that's who I want it to be.
Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean? So, and it stems from his level of, I hate to say it, but obedience. He's such a good kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then I have a daughter who's 9 years old, Christabel, firecracker.
Really.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what to expect when you get home, but she's such a creative person that she keeps me creative.
Okay.
And she can't keep still. She wants to get into new things every time. But I'm just blessed to have both of those kiddos in my life. And that's what I wanted. I said, when I was younger, I want one boy, one girl. And that's what God provided. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that.
That's smart, man. I always tell people like, if you're gonna have kids, right? Once you get past 2, it's an unfair fight.
wait.
Okay. No, look, hear me out, right? So I always tell people, right, it's like, and look, don't get it twisted. I love all my kids, but
Sure.
like we're getting jumped. My wife and I get jumped every day. You know what I mean? Because
okay.
they're 3 versus 2. You see what I'm saying? Like when you have 2 kids and a husband and a wife, right? You can balance
Sure.
things. So it's like, hey, you know, Gio has this at school, you go with him, and your daughter has this, and I'll go with her. Right. But what happens when you got that third one and it's like, damn.
The equalizer.
The equalizer, right? And so I tell people, I was like, look, man, like if you're going to do it and you want peace, do 2.
Stop it.
If you want chaos, just go beyond. But after 3, then they just start to take care of themselves, right?
That's true. They're like a little community.
They're like a little community,
they're
right?
supporting.
Yeah.
I get
So, but I personally was like, I'm not doing more than 3, because I can't. I can't do it, Tony.
Dude, my brother has 5.
I know.
And I don't know how that, like, he always tells me the story of that. He left one in the car when they got home. Like, they went grocery shopping or something, got the bags out, and the one that was still in the car seat. Thankfully, it was like winter, and they were in the garage and stuff. And he was like counting kids walking around. He's like, I'm missing one.
Yeah.
And it so happened the baby was still sleeping in the car for like 10 minutes. And it's like, dude,
It happens.
It does.
Yeah.
But that's way too many kids.
That's too many. Too many. Yeah.
That's the 2 is cool. My daughter, she's daddy's little girl, and she'll side with me no matter what. She'll tell my wife, I don't know what you're talking about. Papi is right. Where my son is a little kind of a mama's boy. You know what I mean? He's always whispering in her ear to get some Apple Pay sent to him for some Chick-fil-A. So he's always trying to be in her good graces. So it's an equal balance, right? No one's getting jumped. But it's fun.
I get jumped. All right. So let me, I want to ask you, right? So my brand right here, Righteous Kinda, right? When you hear Righteous Kinda, what do you think of?
Righteous Kinda. When I think righteous kinda is like you have this intention of living righteous or having that right mind frame, but there's different things from your environment that stop you from absolutely doing that or being 100% righteous. So that's what I think of, at least. Like, I'm righteous kind of like, hey, my intentions are good, right? My intentions are good. But sometimes life just throws different curveballs, and that's just not who I am. I'm authentically who I am, and that might be a little different than what yours looks like.
Yeah, and you're spot on, right? Because what was really cool about when I started this brand is I was 41, so it was like 2 years ago, And, you know, I was at this point in my life where I'm like middle aged. I've been through a lot. And what I realized, don't be touching my fabric, bro.
Exactly. I touch every fact.
I
Can't go to a store without like check.
You're making me nervous now.
No, but it's a really
What is this?
it's a really dope jacket. I'm not even gonna lie.
Thanks,
I love
man.
the contrast of the different sleeves. Like more important, the best thing about this is that you're using different mediums.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people would have just stuck with the Chanel all over, but the fact that you're using different printing styles, embroidery, and incorporating that, I definitely think that's the moment right now.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so-
That means a lot to me because this right here was actually my prize possession because I always wanted a Letterman jacket.
Yeah.
From like, you know, high school, but you know, I didn't do high school well enough to get a
You never
Letterman
played
jacket.
varsity,
Bro, you already know what I was playing. Varsity at the park.
right?
Not the varsity at the park. But I made this year because I it was like, for me, it was my 2-year anniversary and I really, really wanted this. And I have a vision for these jackets actually is what I want to do is going to the point of what you were talking about is I want to build a community, right? Because the other thing about Righteous Kinda is it's a clothing brand that promotes building community. Everything that we do with our clothing brand is to support these community events that we do. And at each community event, we pick a different like nonprofit or community organization, and we're raising awareness and funds for them to do the work that they're doing, right?
Cool.
So we hosted a karaoke night to raise money for the American Cancer Society. And then we hosted a community fiesta to raise money for a all-girls club basketball team. And so what I want to do with this is every year in January, I want to, for 1 month, I want to say, you can sign up to be a part of like our annual membership. And it's just 1 month, right? And when you pay basically like an initial fee, and I'm transparent, that money is going to help us to do these community events.
Yeah.
And then every month you'll get like a surprise box of like something that we made that's like custom. And then at the end of the year, you'll get a Letterman jacket. And then if you sign up for the next year, right, you'll get a patch. So every year you get a patch so that like what I want is like in 20 years, you got somebody who's got like a Letterman jacket with like 19 patches on it. And they're like, I've been down with Righteous Kinda for 20 years.
Yeah, no,
You
you
know?
know, might steal that. You're lucky I didn't bring like an assistant or my wife or something. I'm like, write that down.
Hey, let's do it, bro.
You're gonna
Let's
have crosses
collaborate.
down your sleeve.
Let's do it, man. But the thing about the Righteous Kinda, right, is to me it was like, look, the goal is to be the best human as you can.
Sure.
But like we're human, we're flawed, right? But when you do something that is flawed, you can either let that destroy you or you can let that help build you, right? And so our one of our slogans is like strive for the righteous, learn from the kinda. Like don't let it destroy you because there's too many people out there that are trying to, and this is what I love about you. You're like, bro, I'm not perfect.
Right.
I'm like, you're a Christian, right?
Sure.
And that's a beautiful thing. But like, you're also being like, but I'm human. I make mistakes. You know, my wife is a way better human than me.
Sure.
And there's too many people out there that try to make it seem like they're not that they are more righteous than they are kinda. And it's like, dude, like,
That's crazy.
that's crazy, right?
It's like I'm a mess, Thomas. I'm a mess with Jesus, right? Jesus is my life and the center of it all, but I'm still a mess. But
Yeah.
without him, I'm a catastrophe, if that's the word.
Oh,
Do you see what I'm saying? There's a
yes,
difference, right?
yes.
Like there's no hope in me without Jesus.
Yeah.
But with Jesus, at least I'm a mess with hope.
Yeah.
And I live
That's
through him
beautiful.
and his righteousness. But
Yeah.
I love this righteous because we can all identify with it. Even me as a Christian, like, dude, that should be my slogan.
Righteous kinda.
Because there's only one that's perfect.
So I'm just going to put this out there is if you want to do a Righteous Kinda Throne of Grace collaboration, the door is always open
I'm down.
because I stand to gain more than you do.
Hey,
Just so you know.
No, not necessarily, man. You have a lot going on, right? And you're such an advocate for the youth, and I see the work that you're doing through the poetries and slams and stuff. Like you have that space.
Yeah.
You know, and what I like about Righteous Kind of is it's talks to so many people, right? I'm thankful that because I'm faith based, it's kind of a niche market for me.
Yeah.
where I think some people who don't have that niche market who just want to start fashion, it's really hard because it's like, well, who is my target market?
Who's my target market?
Right.
Yep.
But with Righteous Kinda, everyone is that target market.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
so
true. Yeah. Human. All humans.
all human beings, all ages. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. I'm gonna get you a. We're gonna do a Righteous Kinda Throne of Grace Letterman jacket next year for the 1 month that it's cold.
I'm telling you.
For the 1 month that's the only thing about this is I got to wear it like 3 times. And then
I'm not even gonna front, dude. Like I like dressing up and I like layering it up, so I'll risk it. I'll sweat it out.
you'll sweat it
I will
out.
sweat it out to where, like, I went to a fashion show the other night, an indie fashion show for indigenous designers. and
Yeah.
straight up wore a trench, dude. Cowboy hat.
I think I saw a picture of that.
I was sweating it out, but you know what? It's like, hey, we don't get to do that any
We
other
don't.
time.
We
so
don't. Yeah.
I'm gonna do it at 70 degrees, because I can't do it at 90. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's craziness. Yo, Tony, man, I appreciate you, dude. Like, I really, really do am so grateful to be able to connect to people that like were a part of my childhood at this age in my life. It's weird, man, because like I really do feel like so blessed to be alive.
Right.
And when I get to connect to people that were like kids with me, that are still alive, that are thriving, it's like the best thing ever, man. So like, thank you for being on the podcast.
No, thank you. And let me tell the story. The lady,
Yeah.
my favorite little restaurant, Rito's, she was rocking a Throne of Grace, and I went in there to get some food one day, and she's like, yeah, I ran into one of your old friends, and he said he knew you from childhood, and you guys used to play this game, and at the same time, we both said, hit the deck. Because, like, I already knew.
Yes.
Like, there's no childhood game that was more important and profound to me than hit the deck.
Hit the deck.
So the minute she said that, we both said hit the deck at the same time. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's my guy, dude.
So I ran into her at a birthday party.
Yeah.
One of my son's friends' birthday party, and she had a Throne of Grace shirt on.
Yeah.
And I was so proud.
Yeah.
I was literally so proud. It was like if somebody was wearing a Righteous Kinda shirt.
Right.
Like I was like, yo, I was like, Throne of Grace. I was like, you know, and she's like, yeah, Tony's a friend of mine or whatever. And I was like, my God, like tell him the next time you see him. So Hit the Deck was the stupidest game in the world. All right.
But so much fun. Like I lose my mind thinking about it as an adult.
Yeah. So at the Boys and Girls Club, taking it back to the centerpiece of our youth, they had a cafeteria.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those cafeterias where they had
They would serve the meals out of, right? They
Yeah.
would lift the thing up and it opened it
and
up.
yeah,
so
and it was like
a
a garage door where it had like a table, but they pulled the garage door to lock it, right?
yeah, and the counter I think was probably about 4 feet high.
4 feet high.
Right, right.
And whenever they had chocolate milk, because chocolate milk was like the greatest thing to a kid, right? You get white milk 4 days out of the week, and then it's like all of a sudden you're like, yo, chocolate milk.
Lose your mind.
You lose your mind. And when we knew that there was extra chocolate milks in the fridge, what we would do is one of us would look out to make sure no staff was coming. And then we'd be like, hit the deck. And you would run and jump over the counter, slide, and hit the deck.
And hit the deck. And yeah, you imagine like Beverly Hills Cop or something where they slide across the hood?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. Slide across the counter, get to the other side, duck off, and then just like grab chocolate
And then
milk.
grab chocolate milk and then just drink. And the problem is we probably could have got it if we just asked.
Right.
But we were like, no, we're going to turn this into the greatest game of all time. And
But I don't even think I think there was moments where there wasn't chocolate milk. It was just like, hey, hit the deck. And it was just like, hey, we
Well,
got to stay ready. Because
yeah.
when there is,
we were practicing.
right, if
Yeah.
if your knees or your jump or your slide wasn't on point, dude, you're risking it. We might get suspended. So, hey, stay ready for every moment.
Stay ready to hit the deck, man. And I think that that's actually a pretty cool way to like kind of bring this to a close is that you saw an opportunity in life, right? And you took a risk and you hit the deck,
Yeah.
right? You took a risk and you just continued to do that over and over and over. Because the one thing that I'll say about you is like, and why I respect you so much is because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you are doing things in the beginning, you have to face like, is this the point where I quit? or is this the point where I push through, right? And you push through. And I think that that's a lesson to everybody. Like,
yeah, 1000%.
push through, man. Like if it's your purpose and it's in you, you know what I mean? Push through but also to the point of view, find the bigger purpose that is bigger than you.
It's the why, 1000%. It's the why. But there's even this image I used to see on the internet years ago where the dude was like digging the cave.
Yep.
And then like there's like a thin amount, an inch left that he just had to peek to get to whatever he was going through. But they show him walking away like he gave up. And so every day I wake up like, hey, things aren't going in the direction I thought they would. But there's just that inch I got to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And that's really sits in my mind.
Yeah.
But also being a huge advocate for youth, it's like, I don't want to give up because I don't want them to give up.
Yeah.
You know, and I do want to be a testimony for those kids who walk the streets of Garfield, who walk the streets of the Boys and Girls Club to say, hey, dude, this dude, he used to hit the deck. He used to drink the same chocolate milk I did. Like, I can do it too. And so that always sits in the back of my mind.
So I'm going to tell you something that is not quite public yet, but hopefully by the time this podcast launches, the ink on the contract is dry. But I'm going to be running a youth entrepreneurship program for the Boys and Girls Club this summer. And part of my proposal to them was that I wanted to bring in entrepreneurs to be able to talk. And so you will have an open invitation to come back to Gable. To Gable to talk to these kids about entrepreneurship and what you're doing and all that good stuff. So, man, I really appreciate you, dude.
Thank you.
It's been great. I'm gonna vibe out to our beautiful song, and hey, until we meet again, my guy.
Absolutely.
Stay righteous.
Love you, brother.
Kinda.
Right.